Welcome to the Freo Doctor Uncensored, with me, your host Maria Vusic, where unedited conversations ride on the cleansing breeze of the Freo Doctor. Right, to sum up Councillor Lang, he said that no one cares about this event on council.
Yep, correct. No one is interested, no one cares.
No one cares. So why would anybody want to go to the question time and ask a question if no one cares?
Well, if you don't ask it, we're never going to get anywhere. But basically the feedback I've received is council just doesn't care at all. You can ask as many questions as you want, you can keep coming back, and as far as they're concerned, it's just wasting everyone's time because they're not going to action it, they're not going to do anything because there is no interest.
So I guess with that type of feedback, you can understand how the responses to each one of your questions actually doesn't make sense, because they actually didn't answer your question. In 3 different ways, they've told you, go away.
Yep.
We are not interested. Would you say that would be about the feeling?
Absolutely. That's the response we've had from the 3 meetings we went to. It's basically a very evasive answer, and it's a no in lots of different ways, and just stop asking us because we're not going to answer you.
I'm going to call you in a bit on this. This is probably going over the line. So you're attributing some comments or some agreements to Councillor Lang. It's not actually appropriate to do that. So Councillor Lang can speak for himself. I'd prefer you not to attribute these comments that are probably a little bit over the line to Councillor Lang.
Right.
So if you want to make those statements, feel free, but just to be clear, you can't attribute them to a councillor.
I'm just saying he didn't disagree with any of it. That's all. I'm not saying it was
just
in
a
quote.
Caution that I wouldn't suggest that would be a good idea.
Right. Welcome, Rowena. We are here at Breaks Cafe an hour before closing, and what I wanted to talk to you about, Rowena, is we've now had the Easter long weekend done. We're 4 days away from the festival, and I'd just like to do a recap as to what happened during the Easter break and how you have fared without the Westend Markets.
Yeah. So basically I would say the festival overall was disappointing and certainly not up to previous years. The trading on the high street was probably down maybe 25% of what it would normally be over an Easter long weekend. The foot traffic was non-existent. Overall, totally disappointing and underwhelming event.
Rowena, I came on the Saturday and I found that the street, which normally would have had the markets from Market Street, which is where the National Hotel is, and to Phillimore Street, it had a number of cars parked. It had a couple of the small businesses, I think Common Ground and Miss Brown.
Yep.
They were initially on the footpath, and then when I came in the afternoon, I found them in the middle of the street. What happened?
The Fremantle Street Arts Festival organisers came along and pulled them out from the footpath into the car bays because it just wasn't working on the footpath. It was impeding traffic. They weren't very visible, so they dragged them out into the car bays.
But you communicated that to the council when you wanted to engage with them, where you said the extended trading permits on the footpath do not work. You're not visible enough. And that was confirmed.
Yes, it was. And they said, no, that would work, and they were going to try that this year, and obviously it didn't work. I mean, even extending out into the car bay directly in front really didn't work either. There was still a couple of random cars that were parked in the closed street. It was just awkward. It didn't invite any pedestrians. It was a disaster.
Right, so comparing it to last year, you had one of your best years last year, the 7th year. And what would you say were the outstanding features that you had last year compared that was missing this year?
The foot traffic. Because we had a colourful market running down the centre of the street. We had pedestrian flow on both sides of the street. They could shop in front up. And they could also just run down the markets, and they just walked the streets in between shows that were running at the National Hotel and other pictures around town. So there was a street activity, hence the Fremantle Street Arts Festival, for them to do in between shows.
Do you know, it was underwhelming. I was here last year, and it was just so colourful, busy. It was what you would expect to find in a market. Now, what I find interesting is you had a street that was bare. You had a couple of traders who looked sort of out of place. You had also, the council promised to park the bus.
The bus was a bit of a bust.
Tell me about Buster.
Buster is a council initiative, and it's a silent disco for children. And they had a few street barricades around with some tinsel on it, and it's not even a bus, it's kind of a little van that they park in the street, and they had nobody in there on the Saturday. It was just wrong location, wrong demographic. Everything about it was wrong. I mean, initially they'd proposed it for Esplanade Park, which, great idea. Park, mums and dads can sit around on the grass while the kids do a silent disco and run around, but in the middle of a bitumen street with no activity, just wrong place, totally wrong place.
I've got to say, I was underwhelmed with Buster. I was expecting a big double-decker.
Me too. I was expecting something a little bit larger than a little small minivan.
Honestly, you could miss it. I think the biggest part of that bus was its name.
Buster was definitely a big loss.
Yeah. Look, I just want to pick up the thread, and I don't want to labour the point too much. You've on record now in terms of how poorly the street functioned this Easter long weekend. Can you tell me, just before Easter, I know you did everything possible to engage with the council and to have them listen to you. I mean, they made all the mistakes that was possible to be made.
Absolutely. We told them it would be a ghost town, and it was a ghost town. They just weren't interested in listening to us.
So they would prefer to go ahead with whatever they planned, which was nothing, to a colourful street market with local businesses, all contributing, local artists, the colour, the sound, the music, as what markets do bring in. And they would prefer a desolate street with some attempts, and rather than what the local community wanted.
Yeah, no, they have absolutely no interest in letting us do what we've done every year for the past, 8 years. And we had so many, people walk past and say, "Where's the market? What's going on? Is this it?" People were so underwhelmed with the festival. They'd walk past a stage and go, "Well, it's a street arts festival. Where's the street art?" There was just nothing on. It's really poorly run festival. Very disappointing for Fremantle. An embarrassment for the city of Fremantle. So many other councils do it better. You've just got to look at something like Joondalup. They have an amazing street arts festival. And Fremantle was supposed to be known for the arts, and we've got nothing. We produced a ghost town. It was very disappointing.
Now, I'd like to just touch point the council communication with you. You attended the council meeting just before Easter. You did one last ditch effort of engagement. How did that go for you, Rena?
I finally got a promise for a meeting with Pete Stone, the director, organiser of the festival, and he's finally come back to me saying he's prepared to meet after the festival's over. So we're now talking end of April. We will finally get a meeting to actually discuss what's going on. Almost a month after the event, after lobbying for, I think, 4 council meetings we attended to try and get a meeting. We now have a promise of a meeting.
Now, how would you rate the representation of your elected members? Now, remember with our last conversation when we first started to look into this lack of engagement by the council and over this event, you have 3 elected councillors: Councillor Sullivan, Councillor Williamson Wong, and Councillor Lang. Now, did they work for you? I mean, that's one of the key roles of an elected member, is when there is an issue with administration or you've got blockages in terms of the issues that you have, you go to your elected member and they would advocate for you.
The only councillor that I've had that's in our ward is Councillor Lang that has had any conversation with me. He finally at that last council meeting submitted our petition that we've had signed by the local businesses and the community to have this weekend event reinstated. But even then, that was a bit of a struggle because he basically came back to me saying no one's interested in council, no one cares, so there's really nothing that can be done.
And did you get that clearly communicated to you on the night that you came as the last-ditch effort to see if you could sway anybody?
The mayor, after my putting forward my speech again, basically said, we're just going to leave that with you and Pete to sort out. So council again wasn't interested in engaging. Now that Pete Stone's offered to have a meeting, she said, well, we're just going to leave it at that.
So there was no real accountability there whatsoever?
No, council's not interested, which is, it's so sad. Like, the festival should be a stage show for Fremantle, but instead it reflects really badly, not only on the businesses, but it's the council. This is something that the council could have done a great job on and brought heaps of people to Fremantle and really showcased what a great city we are. And instead, we had a really lacklustre event that nobody really knew what was on, what even was going on. It was just so disappointing.
Rowena, what are you going to do for next year? Are you still focused on bringing back the markets for next year?
Absolutely. That's the plan. I mean, our market could have saved the festival, turned the festival from something pretty ordinary into at least something that wasn't an embarrassment. So we're going to try again. I'm hopefully going to have this meeting with Pete Stone at the end of April and have a discussion about how we can make sure this is a permanent fixture on the Street Arts Festival event program.
What would be your message to the Mayor and councils of Fremantle regarding this issue? I mean, you've got a business here, you've been here 10 years, you have got really good street creds and knowledge, and yet they totally disregarded you. What is your message to them?
I mean, just the feedback from their ratepayers should be enough. I mean, everybody that we have spoken to has said what a disappointment this festival was. And it's not just about the West End and the businesses, this is about the city of Fremantle. It's about making the city of Fremantle a great place to come to and not something that, it wasn't even a good amateur festival. It's just so disappointing and embarrassing for the city.
And what would you say to 3 elected members that represent Coastal Ward, which you're in now?
Well, hopefully they will help us have this discussion with the Street Arts Festival organisers to have some sort of transparent discussion with the businesses, all the businesses on the West End, and see if we can get back the vibrancy and the entertainment and the festivity that we used to have for this festival and make it something worthwhile coming to.
Thank you so much, Rowena. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mayor.
The local businesses provided feedback via a survey, and the key results are 67% strongly in favour of having the West End Markets reinstated. 71% considered the Fremantle International Street Arts Festival to be poorly to moderately organised, with over 50% considering the organisation poor to very poor. 89% of the local businesses considered the communication between council and local businesses to be very poor to moderate, with nearly 75% considered the communication to be very poor to poor. Only 5% of the businesses were definitely happy with the trade in comparison to the 2023 festival. Clearly, there's an appetite for street events in our city, say the local businesses. However, the 2024 Fremantle International Street Arts Festival was marred by amateur execution, has left a trail of trade losses for numerous businesses, and the root cause appears to be inadequate communication and organisational abilities. What a sorry conclusion to a successful markets organised by small local businesses over 8 years at no cost to ratepayers. The Mayor and councillors are so out of touch with business in Fremantle. Shame on you. Thank you for tuning into Freo Doctor Uncensored. If you like this podcast, give us your feedback in the comments and like and share for more awesome content. Catch you in the next episode.